I'm not gonna lose. This is what I came here to do. I walk that wire and I take that step. Won't look down, got no regrets. Won't look down, got no regrets. I was made for this. I was made for this. Born in the wild, formed in the fire, built for the battle. Oh, I was made for this. I was made for this. Mind over matter, silence the doubters. I have the power. Oh, I was made for this.
All right, everybody, welcome to Common Sense with Chief Culp. I appreciate y'all being here. Remember, American Cop Coffee is available at my sponsor, MinutemenCoffee.com. And when you order 2 pounds or more from MinutemenCoffee.com and enter Culp in the promo code, you get 15% off of your order. So thank you to Minutemen Coffee for sponsoring this show. Also, both my autograph books and Patriots swag are available at ChiefCulp.com. So thank you all for your support of ChiefCulp.com and of this show. It looks like we have people. Yes, we are live. How about that? Okay, so tonight's show, it's one that I'm very excited about. And I'll tell you why I'm excited about it. So think back, for those of you that are old enough, in 1985, country music legend George Jones released a song, and the title of that song was "Who's Gonna Fill Our Shoes?" The video for that song won the CMA Video of the Year, and in that song, George Jones asks the question, who's gonna fill the shoes of the country music singers like Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, Elvis Presley, Merle Haggard, among others. In other words, who's going to carry the torch in country music? Well, I've often thought about it, the same thing in politics. And I've talked to people around my age and, much older about younger people becoming involved in the Patriot movement, the America First movement. Who are these younger people that will help now and carry us into the future? And during my 2020 campaign, I saw many, many young patriotic Americans who were involved in saving our country, involved in saving our Constitution, and involved in saving our way of life here in the United States of America, right? The greatest nation in the history of the world. Well, tonight, I have with me 2 people who've answered that call. They have a podcast that I was just recently a guest on, and it's called Thinking of the Future. Please welcome to the show 2 people who will not only help with the future, but have no problem filling anybody's shoes. Avery and Wayne, the host of Thinking of the Future. So welcome to the show, Avery and Wayne.
Hi,
Hey,
my name's Avery.
I'm Wayne.
Thank you so much
Hi,
for having us.
Thank you guys for being on here. It was a pleasure being on your guys' show. And I'm appreciative of you guys being on here. So Avery, would you introduce yourself to everybody, and then Wayne do the same?
Yeah, for sure. My name's Avery. I'm 17. I live in Vancouver, Washington, just a little bit outside of Portland, Oregon. And I became interested, I think, in politics mostly during the Trump administration. But really, I think last year during COVID, just starting to see a lot of the information come out, I became really interested in politics and what was going on. And from there, I actually got involved in Mr. Culp's campaign, working on it here in Clark County through the Republicans office. And I made a connection through a producer, and I was asked to start a podcast. And so that's where I am now.
All right. And Wayne?
Yeah. most of my life I haven't been really into politics. I've been raised a conservative Christian, but I've been mostly an observer. But during COVID-19, I started thinking this, what the government's doing and what's happening in our world is just like not okay. And so I decided to go to Reopen Washington rallies. I went to a few of your rallies across the state. And so I really got involved there. And then in the summer of 2020, I started Turning Point USA Clark County. And I got all my friends together, and we had major success throughout months. And then in November of 2020, I dropped out of high school to do homeschool because my public schooling was not doing very well for this online learning. And so in February of 2021, Turning Point USA hired me. And so now I'm the Turning Point High School coordinator for the state of Washington. And so I have the privilege of working with conservative students from all around the state. That's where I am now.
That is awesome. Barb and I homeschooled our kids for a few years too.
That's awesome.
The garbage that they're putting in schools now is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about what motivated, you guys to get involved into politics. Were you brought up in conservative homes, and like, what was your upbringing like? It's still going on, right? But what is it?
Yeah.
What was it like?
Yeah. I mean, I've always been brought up in a Christian household, always been brought up in a conservative household. I think we've always had conversations about politics in my family, but especially heavily through the teenage years. My parents are they're very intentional about engaging their kids in those conversations, because you're only a kid for so long, and you need to learn on how to apply those conversations to the real world when you go out and you're by yourself on your own. So politics has always been a conversation in our household. So yeah. I would say
same here.
Yeah.
Especially through the teenage years, I've always been brought up to appreciate the American way.
Nice. And can you tell us a little bit more about Turning Point USA? I've heard about it. I've watched some of the videos that they have on social media, but can you tell us a little bit more about what Turning Point USA is?
Yeah, so I'm hired by them. So it is the largest and fastest growing youth conservative organization in the country. It was created by Charlie Kirk in 2012, and its goal was to get into public schools and kind of turn the tide of the war between left and right. Because in public schools, it's just so much left and so much liberal indoctrination. So that's our goal. We're in schools. We're about to go into churches now. That's what we are.
Awesome. And what's our website?
Yeah,
is it
tpusa.com.
tpusa.com?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And Charlie Kirk, right? I've seen some of his videos. He goes into colleges as well, correct?
Yes, he does. Yeah.
All right. And so what's your goal as the coordinator for Washington State?
Well, my job is to start creating chapters at as many high schools as possible. I'm not really into the college thing right now because I'm not in college, I'm in high school, but I've been working with kids from all through the I-5 corridor and eastern part of the state. And our goal is to create chapters in their schools like clubs.
Awesome. And so how long have you been doing that?
About 3 months now since they hired me.
Very good. How's it going so far?
It's good. Not the best. It is hard trying to find teenagers, and teenagers don't always have the most motivation. It's a little bit hard. I think if I was like working with adults, it'd be a little bit easier. But I'm happy where I am, and it's a pretty good success.
Yeah. So if parents are listening right now, what would you recommend parents do to help to get their families more involved, their teenagers more involved?
Yeah, try to support your kids as much as possible. Go support them. I've seen that the kids really like going to rallies. They like hanging out together, waving flags and whatnot. I think parents should go and help them out with that. There's sometimes threats when you do that, so parents should go provide security and support them in their public schools too, on school boards, speaking out against leftist ideologies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just put, it's going across the bottom of the screen on the ticker to connect with Avery and Wayne. And it's thinkingofthefuture.tv, correct?
Yeah, and that's our Instagram handle too, and we're very active on there.
Okay, so on the web or Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what do you guys think is, I mean, if we don't get things turned around, you know, and get back control of what's being taught in our schools and get these socialist politicians, what do you see for the future of this country?
I mean, I see a lot of increasing control tactics. I think COVID has opened a lot of people's eyes, but I also think a lot of people have fallen asleep even more during COVID. Just looking into specific states, I guess it depends what state you're living in, because you might not see it if you're in a more conservative state or a state like Florida or Texas right now. But living in Washington, seeing Inslee's overreach and seeing the government slowly start to say, I can do this, I can do this, I can give you permission to now take off your mask because you have a vaccine, for example. Something like that. I think that will only increase from here if conservatives don't stand up and voice their opinions and say that's not acceptable. The government doesn't control what I do.
And I think it would, if they take control and if we start losing more, I think we would turn out to be kind of like Venezuela. I mean, look at Venezuela. They were the wealthiest country in South America, I think. And look at what they are now. If you look at California and little parts of Washington here, kind of the same thing. It used to be great, but when radical left people of power get in the power, it just doesn't turn out well.
Yeah.
Homeless all over the place,
Yeah.
needles, police being defunded. It's just not good.
And to add to that, I think something I'm very passionate about, at least, is vulnerable people groups not being heard. I think that there's a lot of I think people don't talk about like mental health currently due to the lockdowns and the pandemic. People groups like that are actually being harmed by government policies that are in place. So the government doesn't care about them unless they're fitting their narrative or their plan for the direction that they're wanting to go. And so that's something that I think those people groups will continue to not be heard, and those people groups will continue to have harm suffer to them unless the government in the U.S., specifically in Washington government, gets back on track, hearing those people groups and creating policies that actually help them thrive.
Yeah, I know that, you know, being locked down has affected a lot of people, you know, and I can only imagine, you know, younger people that are used to being out, being social, being in school, seeing their friends, you know, and then having that all shut down. That had to have been hard, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I've seen that is really hard for the younger generation, really hard.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I would imagine the older people too, you know, you can't go visit grandma and grandpa, you know, it was and still is horrible.
Yeah.
So
It's very lonely time.
yeah, definitely. So what do you think are some important things that we need to do to fix our country right now from your perspective?
Speaking towards like policy issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say for policy issues, I think the biggest ones that come to my mind, at least, would be freedom of speech and religion. I think looking towards Canada right now is a really great example of what's going on with churches, what's going on with freedom of speech and religion, and how we need to be cautious in the U.S. and actually be very careful to protect those rights right now. Abortion is another huge one that should be at the top of everyone's list. But yeah, I think those are my two biggest.
Yeah, I think another one would be the Second Amendment. I've gone to rallies all over the state and at the Washington State Capitol, and having my father come with me and having a rifle on his shoulder protected us many times against people that wish us harm. It's really important, especially if in the future our government gets way too out of hand. But we really need to get hold of the Second Amendment and
Protect that right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and just recently, today, yesterday, it's all over the news, conservative news anyway, that the Supreme Court stood up for the Fourth Amendment and the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Unanimously. Yeah,
Yeah.
you saw that?
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
was
Yeah. Very
absolutely
exciting.
awesome. It's about time, right?
Yeah.
So for people to get a hold of you is, you know, we've got your website and your Instagram, Thinking of the Future, going across the screen. Is there a way for people to contact you about maybe getting involved, setting up events. I know that your blog is on there, right?
Yeah, so our website isn't completely up. So I think for right now, Instagram is the best way to get a hold of us, just via DM. But we'll have a website up very soon with like an email and contact information and everything like that.
Okay, they can listen to your podcast at that link though, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so through that link, you can find all of the places to listen to our podcast, like Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And you have quite a few up there. I was looking through, I've listened to, I think, a couple of them.
Oh, that's awesome.
You guys really go right for the issue. That's absolutely awesome. So that's one of the things that impressed me about you guys. You're very articulate, and you're not afraid to tackle the tough issues.
Yeah. I think they're pretty close to home, just seeing how much they affect like my personal life, talking about critical race theory, and talking about abortion and all of these issues. They're very close to home. And so, I mean, yeah, they're just conversations that need to be had to me.
Yeah, and if we don't stand up, then who will?
Yeah, and thank you so much for coming on our show. We're really excited for our episode with you to come out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And, don't hesitate to get a hold of me. I'll come on it again in the future too.
That's
so
super
yeah,
exciting.
I appreciate it, you guys. So everybody that's watching, when this show's over, make sure that you go to thinkingofthefuture.tv and check out their info there and connect with these two young patriots who are going to be filling some very big shoes. I have faith that you guys are going to be pretty involved in politics for a long time coming. Do either of you have any political aspirations, run for office, anything like that?
I've thought of maybe running for office in the near future because, well, look, according to the Washington State Constitution, you could run for governor and state legislator and other positions when you're 18 years old, and we're both almost 18. So I thought of it. Who knows?
Yeah, and for me, I'm not exactly sure what trajectory I want to follow. I think I definitely want to go to college and study something like communications or political science. And from there, I'm honestly open wherever. If there's a position, policy position, something in government, I'm really open to wherever God takes me.
That's awesome, you guys. Well, I want to thank you both for joining me, and I look forward to the future with you two involved, and hopefully people listening, we can get a lot more people your age involved. So thank you guys very much for being on my show. And
thank you.
We'll talk to you later.
Yeah. See you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. So how awesome was that, right? How awesome are those two young people? We need to get everybody we know that's involved. This is not a spectator sport. So thinkingofthefuture.tv, make sure that you check that out. Listen to their podcast. I think they have at least 5 on there. And they do a great job. So check them out. Thinkingofthefuture.tv. Absolutely amazing young patriots. So let's see. Coming up this weekend, I will be in Everett and Stanwood on Saturday, and I'll be in Monroe on Sunday. Check the events page, the events that are listed on my Facebook page for the times and the locations. And I hope to see you guys coming out there. I know it's a Patriot rally in Everett and book signing at the other 2 locations, but check it out on my Facebook page, Loren Culp. Thanks for joining me tonight. Don't forget, check out their website, check out their podcast. They are absolutely incredible, as you saw. So please leave me a comment, and don't forget to share this live with your friends. God bless America, and God bless you. Thank you guys for joining me. Good night.